welcomes you for this wonderful session on pandas and data visualization. I hope my voice is audible to all.
Yeah.
Great. So to start off with the session, though it's a wonderful session, and I hope a lot of people are keen to understand the nitty-gritties and basics of pandas and data visualization. Let me introduce you to the panelists we have. So first we have one of my dear and very close faculty, member from St. Mark's School. His name is Mr. Naveen Gupta, and he's an MCOM and MCA, MPhil specialist in computer science, and he is very keen and he's devoted his life towards enrichment of students, and his talent and zeal have found echoes in India's most prime school governing bodies like CBSE, and he has served as and contributed as head examiner, an evaluator, and a deputy superintendent. He is also a part of NIOS, CBSE, NCRT as a part of Curriculum Development Committee, and an author of content. Apprehending the significance of opening up oneself for critical evaluation by exhibiting one's creation, he has organized various national and international events, and I have been part of various events which sir has organized. One of them is Gigahertz and Tech Fest. So I welcome Naveen Gupta sir on the session.
Thank you, Raghav, for a wonderful introduction. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Another panelist we have, Mr. Deepak Kumar Sharma, very well known in UPS, one of our, prominent faculty members. He is an MTech in Computer Science Engineering from JP Institute of Information Technology, Himachal Pradesh. He's pursuing his PhD, and he's currently working as an assistant professor at the School of Computer Science, UPS Dehradun. He has more than 7 years of teaching experience. He has published several research papers in the reputed journals and conferences. He is a certified Python professional by Infosys, and also a certified professional in data analytics, mining and warehouse, big data and blockchain. I welcome you, sir, for the session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So before we'll start the session, I have certain announcements for our attendees and students and teachers. This session is for another 1 year, 1 hour, and between the session we will have a poll that is a feedback which we request you to fill. Apart from that, the last 15 minutes are dedicated for question and answer round. So all your queries, I request you to park your queries and questions in the chat box. My teammate Faisal and I will be addressing all your queries at the end. Thank you so much. Sir, the session is over to you.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So today's session is on pandas and data visualization. Yeah, so this is the outline for today's session. So today we are going to discuss about importance of data analysis in today's era. Then we will have discussion on introduction of NumPy arrays, which is an underlying data structure, before starting with series and data frames, right? Then we will see some of the basic operations of series and data frames, and then we will see how to import and export data between CSV files and data frames, and then finally the data visualization part using matplotlib library, and we will also see like how to customize these plots, right? So this is the agenda for today's session, right? So point is like why data analysis, why we have this session today, right? So if you see around a decade ago, right, we first heard this expression, data is the new oil, which was coined by Clive Humby, right? So he was using this metaphor, to explain how data is a resource which goes unrefined, which goes unused, right? So there are various sources of data, from which data is getting generated nowadays. So just to let you know how much data is getting generated, see the image on right hand side. So this is again last year's data, where you can see like how much data is getting generated in each minute, right? So in 1 minute, if you see on Netflix, 6,94,000 approximately hours is being watched, right? $1 million is being spent online. So millions of messages are being, communicated in 1 minute. So this is just 1 minute data. If you see, how much data is generated on daily basis and how much of data will be generated in future, right? So according to an estimate, by 2025, 463 exabytes of data will be created each day globally, right? Now, point is like this much of data is getting generated or will be generated in future. So what we will do with this data? So do we think this data is really important for us? Yes. There are so many organizations which are using this data to understand the customer's behavior, and they are designing new strategies based on that. So we need to understand this data, in order to get useful patterns, or you may say useful information. Once we have that useful information with us, we can design efficient strategies. So let's take an example, right? For example, let's say we have, this Amazon, we have shopping websites. So if they know the buying behavior of their customers, so they can, once they know that thing, they can they can analyze that particular data, and maybe they can come up with new strategies, like which are the various potential customers, or which are the various products a particular customer may buy. So these kind of strategies can be, defined once we analyze our data, right? So point is like, what is the role of pandas and matplotlib? So these are basically the tools, or you may say popular libraries in the Python, which helps in doing the data analysis part. So these are data analysis is not the only role. First role is data pre-processing. So what is data pre-processing? Now, before doing the data analysis on the data, right, there is possibility that your data may contain certain noises or certain errors. So those errors need to be removed. Again, there are techniques for that, and these techniques are defined in this Python data libraries, right? Once the data is cleaned, once the data is pre-processed, then we do the data analysis on that, and then we visualize our results with the help of graphs, histograms. There are several visualization techniques available, and that we do using matplotlib library, right? So basically, in today's era, if you see which is the most popular data analytical tool, the most popular data analytical tool is again I say Excel only. But Excel has its own limitations, right? Point is like, up to certain extent we can do data analysis on that, we can do simple basic operations, but it does not provide that rich set of analytical libraries, right? Support of various functions. And apart from that, when the data size the size of the data gets increases, then obviously the performance of Excel is not good, right? So yes, Excel is somewhat, we can do basic analysis kind of thing on Excel itself. We can also do visualization in Excel. But point is, if the data size is huge, this performance, degrades in Excel. So therefore, the alternative solution is, one of the solution is pandas and matplotlib library, right? So point is, why matplotlib library? Again, if you see, again, I have taken this statement. So pictorial representation of data is, far better than 1,000 words. So if you're asked to describe something, it's better to draw that thing, explain that particular thing with the help of diagram, rather than writing those things in words. So matplotlib basically provides those tools, or you may say functions, to visualize your whatever analysis that you have done on your data, right? Whatever results that you have fetched once you have manipulated your data. So this pandas and matplotlib actually is used in together, right? With pandas we analyze our data, we pre-process our data, and finally using matplotlib we actually visualize our data with the help of various graphs and charts, right? So yeah. So before starting with these pandas, we must have basic understanding of what NumPy array is, right? So NumPy array is actually underlying structure, data structure, which pandas data structures like series and data frames uses. So what is NumPy array? NumPy array is basically a grid that contains homogeneous values. Again, it has two forms. Just wait. Yeah. So it has two forms. One is one-dimensional array and the second is multi-dimensional array. See the examples, right? I have just written the examples over here. So how to import NumPy? If I want to use NumPy array, I have to import the library. Okay, I have to import the package NumPy. So how to do that? Import NumPy. I have taken a list over here. List one is equal to with 4 elements 1, 2, 3, 4. Then array one is equal to numpy.array list one. So this numpy.array is a function which actually converts a list into numpy array, right? If I print this array, we will get this output. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 is actually an array, or you may say this is a numpy array, right? Similarly, we have second form where we can have multi-dimensional arrays as well. So you may say again, we have to. There are two different ways of importing NumPy. One is like, okay, I have to use this NumPy.array again and again. Second way of doing is, let's give us different or alternate name to NumPy. That is alias. So NumPy as NP. So instead of using NumPy again and again, now what we have to do is we have to use NP.function name. Okay, so again, what I have done in this example, one more example, list2, which is two-dimensional array with 4 elements. Okay, 2 cross 2 matrix is there, right? So array 2 numpy np.array list2. Okay, print array. So if you print this array, this is what you will get. Okay, so 10, 12, 20, 34. So this is just an example to understand like what is NumPy array, which are the various forms of NumPy arrays, right? Now let's see, how to create array. Before that, these are popular array attributes that one must be aware of, right? So if you want to know what is the type of a particular element, we have a type function. So what is the type of array object? So type is, it belongs to numpy.ndarray. Ndarray stands for n-dimensional array. So whenever we are taking a NumPy array, the type of that will be, it will belong to class numpy.ndarray. So whenever in this particular session, whenever I will say this term that ndarray has to be taken, so ndarray will be so ndarray is what? Ndarray is nothing but NumPy array. Okay. Similarly, we have one more attribute, shape, that we can use like this. So array object dot shape. So this will give what is how many rows are there, how many columns are there. So in this particular case, in this particular example, 2 rows are there and 3 columns. So we are getting a tuple which says 2, 3. Similarly, if I want to know the length of each element, I can use this item size. If I want to know how many elements are there in the array, I can use this size attribute. So ar1.size will give me output number of elements in the array. Okay. We have 2 more data types. 2 more attributes. The first one is D type. So D type will let me know like what is the data type of each element in the array. So array is obviously homogeneous. So type of each element will be same. So over here it is int 32. So int 32 means integer of 32 bits, right? Then ndim will let me know like how many dimensions are there in a given array object. So for this particular case, number of dimensions are 2. Now point to be noted over here is, whenever I say dimensions, so dimensions in NumPy array is also known as x's, right? In Python, we call it as x's, and the number of x's is also known as rank of that particular data structure. So basically, right, if there are multiple x's, right, then how we will divide it? X's is equal to 0, x's is equal to 1, x's is equal to 2, and so on. So this is how we are going to describe the order of indexing into the array, right? Now, these are again certain characteristics that one must be aware of. So array size cannot be changed. Once an array has been created of a given size, we cannot change the size. Whereas if you see in list, we can easily add elements, right? So a list is kind of where elements can be added or size can be changed, whereas array size is always fixed. Array can contain elements of homogeneous type only. Okay, and array support vectorized operations. So what do you mean by vectorized operations? Just see this example. So let's say we have this AR1 np.array 246678, okay, 2-dimensional array. And if I write AR1 plus 2, so what will happen in this case? 2 will be added in each element in the array. Whereas if I perform the same operation in list, it will give me error because I cannot perform plus 2 sort of thing with list, right? So plus 2 basically what means is this 2 will be added in each element of the array. So therefore we can say that this is a vector operation. Similarly, AR1 star 2. So star 2 basically means each element of the array will be multiplied by 2. Okay, so this is again example of vector operation, or you say vectorized operation, right? Now, how to access element from an array, right? So you just have to provide the index. So indexing in array always starts from 0, okay, 0 and 0, 1, 2, 3 onwards. And we also have negative indexes. So A2 of 1, A2 of 1, this will give me the second element from the array. Similarly, A2 of 2 will give me the third element in the array, and so on, right? What about negative indexing? Yes, we also have negative indexing in arrays. So negative, how negative indexing works in arrays? So last element in the array, okay, the index for that will be -1. Second last, -2. Third last, -3, and so on. So negative indexing actually starts from -1, where -1 represents to the last element in the array. Okay, so it corresponds to last element, right? So again, these are some important characteristics of NumPy array. Now, question is like how to create NumPy arrays. There are different ways. Okay, so first is like how to create an empty array. So just see the syntax first, right? So syntax is first if I want to create an empty array, obviously I have to provide the shape first, okay, which is a mandatory argument. Then you can also provide data type of each element in the array. Okay, now just see this example, np.empty 3, 2. So 3, 2 means what? Array has to be created, empty array has to be created with 3 rows and 2 columns, and we are mentioning data type as int. Okay, so if you see over here, an array, this is an empty array. Why we are saying empty array although it has elements? Okay, point is like we are not defining the values over here. The values are stored automatically by the Python. So these are again random values. Okay, so empty array actually does not mean that it will not contain any values. Empty array means it will contain some random values. Okay, so we are creating a sort of array with random values. Similarly, let's say if I'm writing like this a2 np.empty 2, 3, and I'm not mentioning data type, then by default it will create an array where values or data elements will be of type float. Okay, so this is actually a default type. Okay, if you're not mentioning the type, then default type will be float. Okay, now let's say if I want to create an array with where all the elements are ones. Okay, so again the syntax is you have to specify numpy.zeros. Zeros is a function which takes first argument as shape, and again same thing, data type, right? Data type is optional. So just see the example. So np.zeros 2, 3. So 2 rows, 3 columns, and since we are using zeros function, so therefore all the elements stored in the array will contain zeros only, right? Similarly, we have using ones, so all the elements over here will be created as as elements where each element will be 1. Okay. Similarly, we have 2 more functions using arange method and line space. Now let's understand what this arange method is. So let's say if I want to create an array, starting from a certain value and up to a certain value, and we want to provide certain step. For example, let's say I want to create an array which contains elements from 1 to 100, and see, point is like if I define this 1 to 100 manually, again it is a time taking process, right? So I need to use a certain function which can create this sequence for me. So how that can be done? Arange is one of the method. So what is the syntax of this arange method? So first argument is the start value, second argument is stop value, third argument is step value, and fourth argument is d type. So see this example, this will help us a lot. So np.arange5. Now over here, if you just see the syntax, right? So start is mentioned in square bracket. So anything mentioned in square bracket means what? This is optional. Okay, so again, I have not mentioned stop in square bracket. Therefore, this is mandatory sort of thing. Whereas step value is again optional, d type is again optional. So anything which is described in square bracket in syntax, that is actually optional thing, right? So np.arange5. So what will happen in this case? this is actually equivalent to 051. So what is happening over here? If we are not providing start value, then default value of start will be 0. Okay, stop value is mandatory, and if we are not providing step value, then by default step value will be 1. Okay, so np.a range 5 will actually generate a sequence from 0 to 5, where 5 is exclusive. Again, I'm repeating, 5 is exclusive. So 0 to 5, 5 elements will be there: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, similarly, see this one more example on right hand side. So np.a range 3, 8, 1.5, np.float 64. So what we are doing, we are starting from 3 up to 8. Step size is 1.5. Okay, so step size is 1.5, and the data type is np.float 64. So this will create an array from starting from 3, then next value is 4.5, 6, and so on. Okay, so this is again a very useful function in a NumPy, which we will be using in pandas as well, right? Then next important function is line space. Now, what is line space? Line space basically takes 3 arguments, and all these 3 arguments are mandatory actually. So we have to provide the start value, stop value, and the number of values to be generated, right? So just see this example: 3, 10, 4. So 3, 10, 4. What does this mean? So this line space function will actually generate 4 values, the last argument, 4 values between 3 and 10, and all the values will be equally separated. Okay, so the values that you are seeing on the screen are 3, 5.33, 7.66, and 10. So 4 values are being generated in the range of 3 to 10. Okay, clear with this? So these are again very useful functions, right, in NumPy array. So let's start with pandas data structure. So this pandas data structure has 2 useful data structures. One is series, and the second one is data frame. So series is actually defined as one-dimensional array of data and associated array of data labels, where data labels are sort of indexes. Just see the example below. So we have this one series, right, where data is 10, 20, 30, and index labels are 1, 3, and 4. Now, one point that you will observe over here is, like in arrays, we have indexes are created or generated, from 0, 1, and so on. Whereas in series, if you see, we are using indexes 1, 3, and then 4. We are not starting with 0, and we are not, again, they are not continuous values as such. So point is, like, we can have our own labels, our own indexes to define a particular data or to access a particular data which is stored in series, right? Similarly, data frames is a 2-dimensional data structure, with having labels, which can store heterogeneous data. So heterogeneous data can be stored over here. Now see this example to understand like what data frame is all about. So data frame basically, you can say it will have 2 labels. One will be your row index, okay, to access individual row, and the second will be column index. So to identify which particular column we are accessing, right? So this is actually, somewhat equal to data that we are used to, store in Excel files. So Excel files, basically what it has is, every Excel file on the top, you will see a column will be there, column name will be there, and and then multiple rows will be there, and each row will have certain identity with which you can uniquely identify that particular thing. For example, if I'm storing student data, then maybe I can use serial numbers or maybe roll numbers to identify a particular record. So that over here is nothing but row index, and column index is column name. Okay, now question is like, why so what is this age, sport, and all this thing? So actually, what is data frame? Data frame actually comprises of multiple series. So what is the relation between series and data frames? So series is a 1-dimensional array of data, right? This we all know. Data frame is what? Again, it is a multi-dimensional, or you may say 2-dimensional data structure. Not multi-dimensional, sorry. It's a 2-dimensional data structure which actually comprises of multiple series. So if you see over here, name, Deepak, Rohit, Shivansh, Manish. So this is one series. Similarly, age 30, 25, 34, 23. This is second series. Sport, cricket, volleyball, hockey, basketball. This is third series. So what we can say is like there are multiple series in a data frame. Okay, so how to access row labels? For that we have this dot index method. Similarly, for accessing columns, we have df dot columns method. Again, this we will discuss in detail, right? So let's start with like how to create a series object. So again, series, we can create empty series, we can create non-empty series. How to create an empty series? So how to use pandas library? So how to import pandas library? You have to mention import pandas. Okay, how to create a series object? So for that, syntax is series object is equal to pandas dot series, and I'm not specifying anything within this bracket. So what does this mean? This means it will create an empty series with no data value. Okay, no data value is there. Okay, so just see this example. Series is equal to pd dot series, and if I print series, it will give me nothing. So series square bracket nothing. So what does this mean? There is no data in this particular series. Okay, so this is an empty series object. Now we can also have non-empty series object. So the syntax for where data is to be inserted in a series. So there are different ways of doing it. So point is like, what is the syntax for storing data in a series object? So just see the syntax. Series object is equal to pandas dot series. Data is mandatory. Then you have to provide index and the data type. So again, providing index and data type is optional. So data can be data can either be over here a Python sequence, it can be an n-dimensional array, which is nothing but NumPy array, Python dictionary, it can be a scalar value as well. And point is like index is optional over here. So if I'm not providing index, Python will automatically create indexes in the range of 0 to n minus 1, where n is the length of the data, right? So this is, let's see examples of each of the category one by one. So data is a Python sequence, right? So what we are doing over here, series object is equal to pd dot series. So this is a list over here. Okay, within parenthesis 10, 25, 34, 41. This is a sequence. Sequence over here is a list. So this will create this kind of series where 0, 1, 2, 3 are nothing but index labels, and 10, 25, 34, 41 is actually our data, right? So similarly, let's say if I'm using range function, in order to generate data, I can do that. So range 20, 58. What this will do? This will create a sequence starting from 20 up to 50, and step size is 8. Okay, so this sequence will be created, and the indexes that I am providing are 10, 20, 30, and 40. So my series will look something like this. So 10, 20, 30, 40 are my indexes, and 20, 28, 36, 44 are my data values, right? Now data as an n-dimensional array. So pd.series, I have to provide an n-dimensional array. So how can I create an n-dimensional array? There are different ways. That some of the ways we have already seen. So one of the ways, like using a range method, array range method. So np.array range 5, 16, 3. So what will happen over here? 5, 8, 11, 14. Okay, so this data will be created since I am not defining indexes. So by default, indexes will be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now see on the right hand side, pd.series np.a range 5, 16, 3, and I am providing index 10, 20, 30. Okay, so can anyone tell me what will happen in this case, right? So just I'm giving you 10 seconds to think of this. Yeah. So so in this case, like how many elements are there? How many data values are there? 4. Okay, 5, 8, 11. Okay, yeah, 5, 8. I can see a few students raising their hands, right? So let me discuss the answer for this. So in this case, actually, how many elements will be created? 5, 8, 11, 14. 4 elements. But how many indexes are we providing? 3. So question is, will this generate an error? Answer is yes, right? So this will actually generate an error. The error will be length of past values is 4 and index implies 3. So point to be noted over here is the number of data elements that we are providing in data, okay, and the number of indexes must be same. Okay, so number of indexes that over here we are giving 3, but number of data elements are 4. So again, there is a mismatch. So this will give error. So make sure that you are providing sufficient, or you may say exact number of indexes while creating this series object. Okay, so I hope this point is clear. Now data can be, a Python dictionary as well. So if I say this example, pd.series, and we have this dictionary over here, right? Jan 31, Feb 28, March 31, and April 30. So how many elements are there? Data elements, 4. Now point to be noted over here is, okay, what is dictionary? Basically key value pair, right? So values over here will be considered as data elements, whereas the keys over here, Jan, Feb, March, April. Okay, now these four are the keys, and they will actually become what your index labels. Okay, so Jan is actually an index label which corresponds to value 31, and so on. So this is how if you're creating a series using dictionary, so this is how it will be interpreted. One important point to be noted over here is, like, when you are creating series using dictionary, so order of indexes may or may not be the same as order of keys. Okay, so this is again very important. Generally the order is being maintained, but it is not mandatory actually. Okay, now data is a scalar value. So I don't want to provide a sequence. I just have a single value which must be stored in my series. Now point is, whenever data is a scalar value, a single value, then providing indexes is must, or you may say mandatory sort of thing. Okay, so actually see this example, pd.series 10. So what does this mean? Whatever values or whatever values that will be generated in series, all the values will contain 10 as a value, and we are providing two indexes, r1 and r2. So what does this mean? Two values will be generated, the index labels will be r1 and r2, and the value will be 10. Okay, similarly see the example on right hand side. So pd.series, let's say I want to create a series object where I want to store my college name or my school name. Okay, so what I'll do is, pd.series, my school name, comma, index is equal to, I'm using range method in order to generate few numbers. So 10, 40, 10 means 10, 20, 30 will be generated. So this is my range. This is my index. These are my possible indexes. So my data set now will contain 10, 20, 30, and I am storing school name, or you may say college name, against my what index label. Okay, so again we can provide a single value, but whenever we are providing a single or scalar value, the number of indexes must be defined, or the index labels must be defined, right? Clear with this? Okay, now there is one more important concept that one must be aware of, that is, let's say we may come across this situation, right? There are certain data elements that I want to store, but for one or two attributes, the value is not defined right now. Okay, I don't know the value of that particular element right now, but it will be added in the future. Okay, for example, I'm doing registration process, and let's say I'm asking someone to give his pin code details or address details, but he does not know that address details at that point of time for some reason, right? So what I'll do is, I cannot keep that particular data element as blank. I have to insert something. I cannot insert 0. I cannot insert some random number or some random value. So how to fill that particular data? What can we write? So what are the alternatives? So in Python we have this NaN value. NaN stands for not a number. NaN stands for not a number. So whenever you don't know which particular value you have to insert, you can go with this particular option, NaN. So what we do over here is, like, pd.series, I know this values 10, 25. I'm not sure like what will be the value for this case right now. Okay, so what I'll do is np.nan. Why I'm specifying np.nan? This not a number is actually defined in NumPy array. Okay, why I'm writing np.nan? Why I'm not writing nan directly? Okay, because nan is actually mentioned in NumPy array, NumPy module, right? So therefore we have to specify like this only. Okay, I'm using alias np. You may write NumPy in full, NumPy.nan, and so on. Okay, so 56 np.nan 80. So you see this particular series, right? We have certain elements, and some of the values are not known right now. So what we are doing, we are just putting nan against that particular. Okay, so I also again there are various reasons or there are various cases where this NaN will be very useful. Okay, so the main advantage of this NaN is to handle missing data. Okay, so let's say you have one big large data set, okay, and you are asked to do data analysis on that particular data set. So it may happen that some of the values are noisy in nature or have some errors over there. So the best option to do best option that we have over there is to replace that particular noisy value with NaN. Okay, so this is like one basic step when we do data pre-processing in pandas, right? So there are other uses as well. Now let's see, there are other ways as well, by which you can create series object. Another way is like you can use mathematical functions as well. Okay, so see this example on left hand side, right? So np.a range 10 35 5. So we are creating a range. This is AR is a numpy ND array, right? We have some values will be stored. So what is the value? 10 15 20 25 30t. Now see over here, pd.series, I am providing two arguments. First argument is data. So AR is my data. What are the values stored in data part? 10 15 20 25 30. Now what is AR star star 2? This star star 2 is actually a power function in Python. Okay, so I'm using a mathematical function in order to decide what will be the values of indexes. So first argument is what? Data part. Second argument is my index. So what are indexes over here? AR star star 2. So AR star star 2 is nothing but square of each element in my array AR object. Okay, so this is again one more useful way of creating a series. Now see on the right hand side, okay, print pd.series data is equal to 2 into 10 20 30. Can you tell me like what will be generated over here? I'm giving you 20 seconds to see this thing, and just write your answers, or think of the answers and write it somewhere in your notebook, or keep it up to you, right? So yeah, I can see a few students raising their hands. Yeah. So I'm assuming those who are raising their hands, they are very much clear, right? They know the answer for this particular question. So yeah. So what we are doing now, yeah, good. I can see so many students raising their hand. Good. So see this. Let's understand what is given in this question, right? pd.series. We are providing data. So what is data? 2 into. Now, can anyone tell me? So what is this structure? 10, 20, 30. Is it an array or list? This is actually a list, right? This is actually a list. So 2 multiplied by list. What is 2 multiplied by list? 2 multiplied by list is actually a repetitive operator. So if you see over here, right, some of you might be thinking that it is a vector operation. This is not actually a vector operation. Why it is not a vector operation? Reason being, this is not an array. This is actually a simple list. So 2 into some numpy array means we are doing vector operation, but 2 into list is actually a repetition operator. So this is the output that we will get. Okay, so 10 20 30, again 10 20 30. I hope you got this thing, right? So yeah, so we can also have repetitive indexes in a series, unlike arrays. In arrays, the index labels are fixed starting from 0 to n minus 1, okay, where n is the length of the data. Whereas in series, we can have repetitive indexes as well. See this example. So what is our data? Data is in the range between 10 to 60 and step value is 10. And what are the indexes? R1, R2, R1, R4, R1. Where R1 I have specified 3 times. Okay, so this is my series R1, R2, R1, R4, R1 with some values, right? And if I'm printing this series R1, so it will actually give me all the instances of R1, right? All the occurrences of R1, right? So point is like we can have repetitive indexes in case of series, which is not allowed in case of arrays. Okay, clear with this? Or even in lists as well. Okay, so these are again some important series object attributes. Just wait. Yeah. So series dot index basically, it will give it will give you the index list, which are the various labels in a particular series object. Series dot values will give you the values, right? Then series dot d type will give you the data type of the underlying data. We have dot shape attribute, which will basically tell which will actually return a tuple. Okay, that tuple will contain a single element only, and that single element will be nothing but a number of data elements. Okay, so this is again very useful. Series dot n bytes will return the number of bytes in the underlying data, and they will let us know like what is the dimension. So obviously dimension in case of series is always 1. Okay, dot size will let us know what is the size or how many elements are there in the series. Then similarly we have item size. So item size basically tells us what is the size of each element. Okay, so again we have over here we have we have elements like 10, 20, 30. So what is the size in terms of bytes, okay, to store a given value. Okay, so 8 is the size over here. Similarly we have has NaNs attribute, which basically tells us whether this series contain NaN values or not. Okay, dot empty will let us know whether this series is empty or not. Okay, now let's understand a very important concept, that how to access elements from series, right? We know how now we know how to create series objects. Let us understand how to access elements. So there are different ways. One is like, okay, before that just see this example, what example I have taken, right? So what I have done is I have taken a dictionary as a data element. Okay, so my series is something like this: 1 Monday, 2 Tuesday, and so on. Okay, now what will happen if I'm writing series 2? So series 2 means it will go to the label 2, index label 2. Okay, and it will fetch that particular row, okay, or particular data element. So 2 Tuesday will be the output. Okay, clear with this? Similarly series 6, so series 6 will give me 6 Saturday, and so on, right? Now question is, we can also use slicing over here. So slicing basically means selecting multiple data elements in one go. Okay, so let's say if I want to pick 2 or 3 elements starting from 2 up to 4, okay, something like this. Now what is happening over here? So please see this example and just see the output that is coming over here. Just observe the output, right? So 2 colon 4, what is happening over here is we are starting from second position. Again I am repeating position. There are 2 terms. One is position and the second one is index. Now what is the difference between index and position? So position of any series object will always start from 0. So what is the position of Monday in this particular series object? 0. Similarly, what is the position of Tuesday? 1. Whereas index of Monday is 1, index of Tuesday is 2. So index and position are 2 different things. Okay, I hope I'm clear. So series 2 colon 4. So 2 colon 4, whenever we are doing slicing, whatever value that we are specifying in slicing, actually that value corresponds to position, not index. So what will happen over here? Starting from second position up to 4th position, and 4th position is exclusive. 4th position is exclusive. So we will have 2 elements at position 2 and position 3. So position 2 पे हमारा element है Tuesday, position 3 पे हमारा element position 2 पे Wednesday है, position 3 पे Thursday है, right? So since positions are starting from zeros, so 0 corresponds to Monday, 1 corresponds to Tuesday, and so on, right? I hope I'm clear what is slicing. Yeah. Okay, now see a few more examples and just try yourself, right? I'm giving you again a few seconds, few minutes to think of it. So series 4 colon something. So 4 colon something means from position 4 up to the last element. Series, okay, before colon sign, I am not specifying anything. So from starting element up to 3rd position, and 3rd position is actually exclusive. Okay, similarly -5 colon -1. So we have negative indexes as well. So we will start from -5 position. So what is -5 position over here? Can anyone tell me what is -5? So -1 corresponds to Sunday, -2 Saturday, -3 Friday, -4 Thursday, -5 corresponds to Wednesday. So we will start from -1 up to -1, which is -1 is Sunday and -1 is exclusive. So we will get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, right? Now we can also specify the step sizes. So third argument while using slices is actually the step value. So one, see the second last example, 1 colon 6 colon 2. So what does this signify? I have to start from first position up to sixth position and the step value is 2. Okay, so after first printing first position, I will print element which is at third position, then element at fifth position and so on. Okay, so clear with this thing, right? Now this is again a very interesting example, colon colon -1. So colon colon -1 actually indicates I'm supposed to start from one end, since okay. So point is like third argument. In the third argument, we specify the step value, right? Now question is, if the third argument is positive, so if third argument is positive, then we are supposed to start from left to right. If third argument over here, in this case -1, so -1 is a negative value, right? So what this negative value signifies, we are supposed to start from right hand side. Okay, so from right hand side to left hand side, I will print all the values. Okay, so in that case, this is nothing but printing the reverse of a given series object. So if you want to print reverse of something, you may use this technique. So colon colon -1. So this will print all elements, in the underlying structure in the reverse order. Okay, clear with this? So I'm clear with like what is slicing and how to access specific data elements in series. Now we can perform various operations on series objects. So first operation is like, let's see how to modify series object. So for that, syntax is you have to specify series object within square bracket, the index label is equal to new data value. Okay, or what we can do is we can also modify multiple values by using the concept of slicing. So series object start value colon stop value is equal to new data value. So what this will do, it will replace all the values, replace all the values, means what? All the index labels which we are specifying starting from start to stop. Okay, so it will replace all the values over there with the new value that we are specifying. Just see these examples, this will make more clear, right? So pd.series, series is equal to pd.series. We have this series 10, 20, 30, 40 and the labels are 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So series 2 is equal to 56. So what is happening? 2 over here is not position, this is index. So series 2, the element which is at second label will now be replaced by 56. In this case, position and index values are same actually. 0, 1, 2, 3 are in fact position values as well as index labels. So they are actually same in this particular example. So series 2 over here actually, if you see the syntax, we are supposed to provide the index. We are not supposed to provide the position. So series of 2 is equal to 56. So at the value which was there at index 2 is now changed with 56. Similarly, let's say if I'm writing something like this, series 2 colon 4 is equal to 45. So what will happen over here? All the elements which are there at from position 2. Again, when we are using slicing by default means positions. Okay, so from position 2 to position 4, and 4 is exclusive. All the values will be replaced by 45. Okay, so again, very important concept. I'm repeating this thing for those who are doing this series for the first time. Whenever you are mentioning single element, okay, something like this, series object within square bracket, a particular value, then that value will be considered as index. But if you're using slicing kind of thing, start value colon end value, then in that case, that will be considered as position. Okay, in case of series object, right? So again, very important. We can also modify series indexes. So let's say I want to give new series. I want to reassign my series indexes. So what I have to do is like series.index is equal to my list of new labels. Okay. Then we have this head and tail function. right? What are these functions? So basically head function is used, to access first n rows from pandas object. Okay, so for example, let's say we have thousands of rows in a given table, and I want I want top 20 values or top 100 values to be fetched. I don't want all data elements to be displayed, right? So in that case, I can use this head function. If you are not specifying any argument inside head or tail, then by default the value of n will be considered as 5. So if you are just writing dot head, that means top 5 elements will be fetched. Similarly, what is tail function? Tail function will fetch the last n number of rows from your series object. So let's say we have a series object which contains millions of records, and I want last 50 records to be fetched, then I can use dot tail 50. Okay, see this example. So series, we have this series object, series dot tail. I have not specified any argument within this parenthesis. So therefore, this means last 5 elements from this series object will be fetched. So now, which are the last 5 elements? The 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Similarly, if I'm using dot head and I'm mentioning some argument value 3. So 3 means what? It will only fetch first 3 elements from my series object. So 10, 20, 30, these are the top 3 elements in my series object. Okay, I hope I'm clear up to this. Yeah. So again, a very interesting question. So let's say, I want to print rows from number 3 to 6. As of now, what we have studied, what we have learned is like how to fetch top 50 rows or 50 elements, or last 20 elements, right? So can we use this head and tail in order to print data elements which are at position 3 to 6? So we can use a head and tail combination. So what logic we will use over there is like, first we will fetch first 6 data elements using dot head 6. Okay, and then we will use dot tail method dot tail 4 in order to fetch last 4 elements from those 6 elements. So we can use the combination of this head and tail in order to fetch elements which are at in a given range of particular index labels. For example, 3 to 6. So this over here, what we'll do, dot head 6. So that will give me first 6 elements. Then I have to fetch from 3 to 6. So that is nothing but last 4 elements from that. Okay, so dot tail 4. So this is the logic that we can use. We can use combination of tail and head together in order to fetch any range of data. Right now, we can also perform vector operations very much similar to what we have done in arrays. So just see these examples. So series multiplied by 2. What will happen over here? All the data elements in the series object will actually be multiplied by 2. Okay. Similarly, new series is equal to series star star 2. So what we are doing? We are simply performing square of each element in the series object. So new series is nothing but square of each element in the original series. Okay. Then we can also write something like this: series greater than 20, relational operators can be used. So what will happen over here? If a particular data element is greater than 20, then the answer for that will be true, otherwise it will be false. Okay, so I'm using so Boolean answers will be there. Wherever this criteria will be true, the answer will be true, otherwise it will be false. Okay, clear with this? So such kind of vector operations can be performed on series object, right? We can perform other operations as well. Like we can also perform arithmetic operations on 2 different series. So let's say I want to add 2 series, series 1 plus series 2. So that can also be done. Okay, so series 1 plus series 2, what will happen? From series 1, it will check where is this index level 0. Okay, again we have index level 0 in series 2. Data elements at index level 0 from both the series will be added. Okay, and same way. The point is, let's say we have 4th index over here in series 1, but we don't have 4th index in series 2. So what will happen in the new series? In the new series, that value will be replaced by NaN. Okay, we don't have matching value for this particular label in series 2. So over here, we will the answer will be NaN. Okay, clear with this? If there is a missing value, or you may say there is a not, there is no compatible value corresponding to that particular label, then NaN will automatically be replaced over there. Okay, clear with this? Right. So we can also filter entries. We can use expression, something like this. This is an example which we have already seen, right? But let's say my objective is to print only data objects which are greater than 20. I don't want to print this 10, true, false, right? I just want to display data objects which are greater than 20. So I have to specify my criteria within the square bracket. So series 1 within square bracket, series 1 greater than 20. So what this will do, it will check for each element in my series object, and wherever this criteria is true, it will print that particular data object. Okay, so in this case, we just have 3 elements, 30, 40, 50, which are satisfying this particular criteria. Okay, so we can, point is we can provide Boolean expressions on series object. This is just a simple example of Boolean expression. Okay, now question is, can we do re-indexing sort of thing? Let's say my original series object have indexes, A, B, C, D, something like that. Can I rearrange that thing? Can I start from D, A, B, C? I want to, change the order of my data element. So again, that can be done. So for that, we have method dot reindex. Okay, so what is the syntax? Object dot reindex, and you have to provide the new index sequence. So see this example. Okay, see this example on right hand side first. So let's say we have this series. Okay, I want to reindex. I want to rearrange my indexes. So what I am doing, dot reindex D, A, B, C. Now what will happen, instead of showing the elements in this order, now it is showing in a different order, which is D, A, B, C. D corresponds to 40 in the new series object, and in the actual series object, again D was corresponding to 40 only. But the only difference is the order of representing data objects has changed. Okay, clear with this? Means basically we are changing the positions, but the index labels will always remain the same in this if we are using the dot reindex method. Similarly, we have this drop method. So basically, why we use drop method? Drop method is used, to delete any element from this series, right? So we just have to provide the index for that, right? So again, let's conclude what is Panda series and how it is different from NumPy arrays. So vector operations on two NumPy arrays with different shape will result into error. Although we have not practiced this thing, but please note this thing, right? If we are performing vector operation on two ND arrays where the shape is different, then it will always result into error. Whereas in Panda series, what will happen for the non-compatible values, the new value that will be stored, that will be NaN value. So NaN will be replaced over there. In ND arrays, if you see, the indexes are always numeric, starting from 0, whereas in series object we may have indexes which may which can either be numeric, or it can be string, it can be letters or anything. And if in case they are numeric also, then it is not mandatory that they must start from 0, right? We can have index labels starting from 4, and again no fixed order is to be maintained, right? So this is again an advantage, right? Now let's start with data frame, like again very important concept in Python pandas. So what is a data frame? Basically, it is a two-dimensional labeled array and ordered collection of columns, right? It has two axes, axis is equal to 0 and axis is equal to 1. Axis is equal to 0 corresponds to row, and axis is equal to 1 corresponds to columns, right? Elements are identifiable with a combination of row index and column index. So if you want to access a specific cell value, you have to mention row number and column number. Okay, indexes again over here can be numbers or letters or strings. Columns can have data of different types. Values can be changed, that is value mutables. Okay, so if you have stored a value in a data frame, you can modify that value. Okay, we can also add or delete rows and columns in a data frame. So therefore we can say they are size mutable and value mutable. Values can be changed in data frame, even size of the data frame structure. If you can easily add rows, you can easily add columns, you can delete columns, you can remove rows, right? So that is quite possible. Okay, now let's start with like how to create and display a data frame, right? So point is like, just see this syntax first. So data frame object is equal to pd dot data frame. Please note that D and F are capital. Okay, so we have to use this method pd dot data frame. Then first argument is 2D data structure, which is mandatory. You have to provide a 2D data structure. Then optional parts are you can mention column names, or you may say column sequence, and then index sequence after that. Again, these two are optional, whereas mentioning the or providing 2D data structure is mandatory. Okay, now this again 2D data structure can be passed in different ways. So you may take two-dimensional dictionaries. Again, this dictionaries containing values as again list, or dictionary, or ND array, or series object, or tuple, or any sequence. So dictionary, we have, so dictionary, we have one-dimensional dictionary and multi-dimensional dictionaries as well, right? So in case of multiple dimensional dictionaries, the second dimension could be anything out of this thing. Okay, we can also have this 2D data structure at 2D ND arrays. We can have series type object. We can also take another data frame object, right? So these are the different ways by which we can insert this particular data in data frame. Let's see examples of some of them, right? So first example is creating using a two-dimensional dictionary having values as lists. Okay, so see this example. D1. What is D1? D1 is actually a dictionary. So name is a key, age is a key, sport is a key. Now name again has values, and what are these values? These values are actually lists. Age again has a value. Okay, what is this value? Value is a list. Okay, which contains 4 elements. Similarly, sport is again one more key containing some values. Okay, so what is this? This is a two-dimensional dictionary with values as lists, right? So how to create data frame out of this thing? So df1, let's say, is my data frame object, is equal to pd dot data frame d1. So d1 is my data structure. Okay, two-dimensional data structure which I have defined over here on the top. Then I am providing index labels S1, S2, S3, S4. So what will happen in this case, right? This data frame will be created. Just see below. So data frame over here, the column names are nothing but the keys that we have mentioned in the dictionary. Whereas the index that we have provided while creating this data frame, after D1, index is equal to S1, S2, S3, S4. These are my index labels. So point to be noted over here is keys of 2D dictionary will become columns, and order of columns again may not be reserved. Okay, so columns in two-dimensional dictionary will automatically become columns. So important point to be noted. Again, 2D dictionary having values as series. So it's not necessary that we have to provide list. We can also create two-dimensional data structure using this 2D dictionary where elements are series again. So see this example, S1, S2, S3. I have taken 3 series over here. S1 is pd.series. I have stored 4 names over here. Again, S2 pd.series, ages, pd.series, sports. So these are actually series object. Okay. Now again, what I am doing, I am taking a dictionary. Data is my dictionary, right? Where key is name and value is S1. What is S1? S1 is a series object. So keys are keys are over here, name, age, and sport, and values are series object S1, S2, and S3 respectively. Okay, and then how we are creating data frame? Pd dot data frame data. Sorry, I have used double commas. This is single comma only. Okay, so data comma index is equal to 2458. So this is how a data frame, new data frame will be created. So what is data frame over here? This is nothing but a combination of sorry.
No issues.
Okay.
We'll start with Matplotlib. Hello everyone. So I'll take just 10-15 minutes, not more than that. I will be taking Matplotlib as well as a little bit about a paper, how the paper we can design in pandas in informatic practices. Sir has already explained you everything that how the Matplotlib will work. Now let's start with the Matplotlib. As we know, the Matplotlib is for data visualization. So when I say data visualization, it means this is data visualization. So what is a data visualization? Now, when I say data visualization, it's a graphical representation of information and data by using visual element like charts, graphs, maps. We can visualize the data. So I have used one data file from the Kaggle.com, which talks about the India data set for the COVID. So this is my data set. This is my data set, which says data set number COVID-19 India CSV, day by day, the performance of the India towards the COVID-19. So I'm using this data set for displaying the data visualization. So for visualization, I need a library called Matplotlib, and I have already written here what is a Matplotlib. Matplotlib visualization with Python. So Matplotlib is a comprehensive library available with us for creating a static and animated or interactive visualization. So that is a library which we need to install while working with visualization. So I'm using a pandas because I'll take a data from the pandas and then I'll visualize the data. So I've used a function called read_CSV, which will automatically read the data set. So this data set I have downloaded from the Kaggle. So once I run this command, my complete data set will be available. If I run this, my complete data set, you can see 6316 rows and 9 columns are there with this data sets. So I can write here what are the names of the columns. So I'll say df.columns. It will display the name of the columns. So these are the columns which we are having in data sets. That is serial number, date and time. At the time, every hour, every 2 hour, 3 hour, the data is being updated. Confirmed Indian national, confirmed foreign national in India, cured people, death, and confirmed. So this is a data set. And I have written a certain query here to find out the data of Delhi. So I have written here, just give me a Boolean expression which will give me the data of Delhi only. So I have written here df state or union territory equal to Delhi. So it will show me the data from 2nd of March 2020 to till this date. Every data is there. So how we are increasing day by day in Delhi, it is displaying me. Now it's very simple to plot any because I have already imported the library. Now I'll write just only this line. I can write df Delhi dot plot. If I show you, I'll write df dot plot. It will automatically show me the complete data graph. You can see it's showing all the numeric values is being shown as a line chart. The data is too much, so you can't see the lines, and the graph will be displayed. So I don't require any other function. I'll just write say df.plot. It will automatically draw the line chart for every numeric value available with the data frame. So serial number was one field, cured, deaths, and confirmed. So this is a simplest way to display any. Even if I write df.bar, df.plot kind equal to bar, so it will display the bar graph. And if I say df.hist, it will display me the histogram for. So it means we can display any of the graph using this data. So automatically it will display. Now, as I have already extracted the data of Delhi, so I am doing some of the manipulation on this. Let's say I am displaying the line chart for df Delhi of cured and deaths confirmed rate through a line chart. So I've written here plot because by default, whenever I display anything, it is plot or a line chart, we can say. So you can see it's showing me the line chart for this data. And I've used only 3 data, cured, deaths, and confirmed. Now, what I have done, because I want to specify more exclusive result for my visualization. So I have just used df Delhi deaths 4700, means wherever the number of deaths in Delhi is more than 4700, from which date it is more than 4700, give me the data and plot the bar graph. If you see, I have just plotted the graph. So this showing cured, death, and confirmed data set. and the chart type is bar, and the date is a X. What is a X? X is a date. If you see, I have displayed the date here. So this is my X axis, wherein I am displaying on 13th of September 2020, 14th of September 2020, 15th on September 2020, what was the date, what was the number of people cured, what was the number of deaths and confirmed. So that will display the bar chart for these 3 days only. That up to me how I want to extract the data. Now again, I have just, as I said, you can just write name of the data frame .hist, and herein I have used one of the option called figure size. If I will not use, the figure will be very small. If you see this, I'll get the cured, death and confirmed histogram for this. So for this year, we have only 3 charts in our course. One is a line chart, one is a bar graph, and another is a histogram. So it means whenever you are plotting any of the graph, you just need to write df dot plot kind equal to bar or a hist. So that kind of thing you can write. But there is a certain other thing is written in the syllabus that you need to customize the chart. So to customize the chart, I should know these options. So I'm first explaining what are the options you should know. Now you should know how to give the title to the particular chart, how to give the X label, how to give the Y label, how to give the legend, and how to change the color. Because by default, whenever you are plotting any graph, it will be in the blue color. Either it's a line chart or it's a bar graph, or then you should know what sort of line, marker style, and the number of parameters required to plot any graph. For example, line chart require X and Y axis. For every graph, you need a X and Y axis. So herein I have done certain manipulation, or certain, you can say, customization to the chart. I used here title, X label, Y label, so that what I'm extracting the August data from the graph, and I am plotting this graph. You can see this is my August month daily data, which is displaying the line chart. It's more useful to see what is the updation in the month of August in daily. Then herein I have used other parameters as well. That is, example, I have taken dates and the data from the data frame, which is, I have written a Boolean query. I have asked my data from the data frame, cured people is more than 1,50,000 daily, up to which date? So I am displaying the bar chart. X as a date, X axis, title is COVID, color is yellow and red because will be a 2 numeric field. One will be the cured, another will be confirmed. So we are using this, and the edge color will be green, line width will be 2, line style will be hyphen, and the line. If you see, I have displayed this data with some of the customization of a bar graph. You can see 28th, 20, what is the number of deaths and cured people, confirmed cases and cured cases. And line dash will be like this. And the edge color is of green color. So that's the way we can work with a Matplotlib. Very small presentation with this. And let's talk about the paper style. Now, how the paper will be, how the paper style will be. So this is a Matplotlib, a small brief example of a Matplotlib, what things you should know while doing Matplotlib. So you should know what should you know? How to plot the graph, how to customize, how to change the color, how to customize the chart, what line style can be, what will be the colors, marker size. This kind of thing you should know for the paper point of view. Let's see the paper, how the question can be framed from the data frame and a Matplotlib. Very first, a small example paper I am just sharing with you people. So if you see my screen, this is a small sample paper which I have prepared. So if I see the paper style, 30 marks, 25 marks, 7 marks, and 8 marks, this is a distribution of a paper. When I say 30 marks is for pandas, 25 marks for the SQL, 7 marks for the networking, and 8 marks for the cyber ethics. So this is the written here. Now, how the question can be, what is a PyPlot? A very simple question. Name the 2 methods provided by pandas for reindexing. So rename and reindex. Again, I have given one question. Consider the given data. Answer the question below. So I have taken a one data set and I said to create the above data frame. So this is one of the table. You need to create the data frame. So this kind of question we can give to the students to set the index to the above. Yani ki what we have to do? We have to create the index to the classes. So we need to write a single statement through which we can create index to the classes. By default, index is this. Now, another question, write a Python program to find out the total salary. So that is without function, as sir has already explained you the iterating concept. So I can use the iterating concept and display this salary sum. Then error can be there. So I have written some code. I am asking what will be the error, what sort of error this can be. And another question is from the adding a two data frame, or in the exam you can give a question like, this is the data frame which is a app name price download. So I have again used as some of the sample data type wherein we are explaining what are the number of downloads for the particular game from the Play Store. And on the basis of that particular data frame, I have created a question, write a command to create a data frame, to print the maximum price, to add the new column. A simple one-liner concept can be given for the exam. So this kind of question we can ask student to prepare for their for the annual exam, for the board exam. A small question can be given from the pandas, and Matplotlib can be asking about giving a fill in the blanks, giving them some of the charts and writing a code for that. So mainly we are talking about Matplotlib and pandas, a very small basic question from the students. I think that's it for the today. The session was too long as we have taken a time for more than 1.5 hours. So thank you so much, everyone. Please fill the feedback form. We have already pasted the link in the chat window. Kindly fill the feedback form for further development of this session. Or maybe we'll break up the session. If somebody wants to say anything, so most welcome. And we can switch on their mic if somebody wants to say something. Deepak sir. Anybody wants to say something, you can write in the chat window or fill the feedback form, everyone. It's a very genuine, very simple feedback form wherein we are not asking you any details. We are asking for the genuine feedback form.
Sir, now chat is enabled for question and answers.
If somebody wants to say, some child wants to say. I think people are giving some feedback.
I think they are asking for materials, sir, PPTs and recordings. So maybe recordings can be shared with
Yeah, recording we will share soon, and that will be available on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Certificate you will get soon. Everyone, please note down. Certificate will be you will get soon. Deepak sir, PPT we can give you in a PDF form, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We can give it.
We can give to them, everyone, that in a PDF form so that they can use it. I think people.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have tried this item size attribute for series. It shows me error that it throws attribute error.
So can you share the line which you have written right in the chat box? For this is you are saying for series, right?
Somebody, sir, two people want to say something. Just unmute. Mr. Faisal, please unmute these two people, those who have raised the hand.
Yes, yes. Just give me a minute. Now they can.
Those who have raised the hand, they can say something. Yes, sir. Sir, you are not audible actually.
Sir, shall I?
Yeah.
Good evening, Naveen sir, just Simran this side. Sir, just one question on the Matplotlib. Like when you take the CSV file, which has contained the huge amount of data, will our Matplot the functions will take completely all the data, because I was facing this problem because the data was consisting of lakhs and lakhs of rows, so it was not able.
Ma'am, you have to extract the data from the Matplotlib.
You can't plot the complete data.